Yeah, we back. Now, today's video is going to be a little different. I'm going to be replying to some comments made in my comment section in regards to something I say very often on my channel, which is life is about power, not morality. And if you watch my content, I'm sure you've heard me say that on a number of occasions. So I want to respond to some detractors and maybe clarify my position, because maybe y'all misunderstanding what I'm trying to convey. Maybe you're misunderstanding the emotions I'm trying to express. So anyways, take a look up on the screen. Yesterday, I dropped an amazing video entitled Niger Tells France to Leave the Uranium Mines. Classic video. We discussed how the military government in Niger had revoked a mining license for the French government. One of their major multinational corporations was actually evicted from one of the biggest uranium mines on the planet. Of course, the Western mainstream media is not going to be gassing it up because that's a major loss for the Western power. That's a major loss for the Western economy. But when it comes to us as black men, this is a historic event. Anyways, so in that video, I'm going to play a small clip from what I had said in that video, and then I'm going to go deep into the comments and I'm going to reply to the detractors. Run the clip. I'll be right back. Because it makes no sense why the white children in France get to enjoy living in a safe and illuminated and electrified environment, and the black children in Niger don't get to enjoy those same luxuries and amenities of electricity and a decent quality of life. It doesn't make sense. But like I said, life is about power, not morality. People don't do things that make sense. People do things that are in their best interest. So black man, you must do whatever is in your best interest. Who cares what happens to other people? That's your mentality. Who cares if they starve? Who cares if they starve in France? Who cares if the lights go out in France? That's none of our concern. That is none of our concern. If the lights go out in France, if they starve in France, if the economy tanks in France, that is none of our concern as black men, as African men. That's their business. Our concern is making sure that our people got what they need. All right, we back. Now, take a look up on the screen. This brother at the top, he said this: life is not about morality. Life is about power and interest. I feel your quote, bro. Peace. Somebody came below him and said this: without morality, there is no power. We must adhere to our African cultural paradigms. Life rests on morality, mayat, without which there is and can be no balance in nature. And without nature, life ceases to exist. Okay, so listen. Maybe the brother at the bottom didn't understand my position. But anyways, I had somebody else come into another video I made months back this morning. He said this: morality does matter. Regardless of your religious beliefs, you answer for your actions at some point. The short-sighted Africans that sold their brothers for regional power is what led to the downfall of the black diaspora. Now, let me address that. When I say life is about power, not morality, maybe there's some confusion. So maybe I should clear this up, because I believe some of you think that I'm trying to say that you should obtain power even to the detriment or at the expense of your own people. And I would never advocate for such a thing. When I say life is about power, not morality, when we discuss geopolitics, what I'm trying to say that black men must prioritize the interests and well-being of our own people above all else. And when I say our own people, I'm not talking about only our individual nations. I'm talking about the collective body, our entire race worldwide, from the Caribbean to the Americas to the continent to wherever we are located across the globe. I believe that black men have an obligation to protect the interests and advance the prosperity of our people wherever we are located around the world, even if it comes to the expense of other groups. Like, for example, when Niger revoked the mining license of France this past week, guess what? The French people are going to suffer. The citizens of France are going to suffer. But guess what? I don't give a fuck. I don't care what happens to the French economy. They could be starving in the streets, begging for change on the side of the road. I don't give a fuck. That's what I'm trying to express. So for you black men to come into my comment section and assume that I mean that you should obtain power at the expense of other black people, that goes to show that either you're not familiar with my content or your comprehension is very low. Because guess what? When France was enjoying the luxuries of the uranium coming out of Niger at the expense of the black children in Niger, the black women in Niger, who were not able to enjoy the same quality of life because France was prioritizing the needs of their own citizens above all else, guess what? The French government didn't give a fuck what happened to our people. They didn't care what happened to our children. The only thing they cared about was protecting and advancing their agenda and their interests above all else. The only thing they cared about was establishing and maintaining their prosperity off our backs. And whenever a black man came along and said, listen, we got to put a stop to this. We got to put a stop to the exploitation. They came and killed him because they didn't give a fuck about our people, because they were prioritizing the needs of their own people, which guess what? I'm not mad at them for that. I'm not upset at the Frenchman for prioritizing the needs of his French women and children. He's doing what he's supposed to do. As a black man, I'm supposed to defend my interests, my women, my children. I got to do what I'm supposed to do. Because guess what? Life is about power, not morality. So when I say that, I need y'all to stop trying to misconstrue my words. And I don't know what it is, if it's just low comprehension or religious indoctrination. But no, I don't believe that we're ever going to live in a world where it's going to be kumbaya and we could hold hands together and everybody can be prosperous. No, somebody got to be at the top and somebody got to be at the bottom. And it's going to be us or them. Because guess what? In order for Niger to be prosperous, France must suffer. And that's the power dynamics at play. In order for Africa to be prosperous, the Western nations must suffer. The Western nations that built the foundation of their wealth and power off the backs and off the blood of our ancestors, they must suffer. Because that's the reality of the matter. In order for Africa to prosper, guess what? These multinational corporations, they got to take a loss. Many of these lopsided contracts that were signed decades ago, they got to be revoked. And when these actions are taken, the quality of life for the average citizen living in the West is going to decrease dramatically. And guess what? I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck, because they never gave a fuck about our people. Because guess what? Life is about power, not morality. It's not about holding hands and singing kumbaya, bro. It ain't about that. It ain't about that. And I explained that perfectly in my video yesterday about Niger. I had explained how in order for the economy in Niger to prosper and really take off, the French economy must take a massive loss. That's the fact of the matter. So when I say life is about power, not morality, I'm not saying that you should step on your own people. You should do wrong against your own people. I'm saying that you should advance and protect the interests of your own people, even if it comes at the suffering of your enemies. In fact, you should celebrate when your enemies suffer. You should be happy when your enemies suffer, because that is a way of enacting vengeance for the blood spilled and the suffering of your ancestors. You should be happy. But I'll be honest, I'm very disappointed how some of you black men have taken my message and tried to twist it and misconstrue it as if I'm trying to say that you should do harm against other black men so you can obtain power individually for yourself. No, when I say life is about power, I'm talking about the collective. I'm talking about standing in solidarity with black men and women around the world to protect your interests against all foreign adversaries. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Take, for example, right, when a nation gets sanctioned by the Western powers, right? Like last year, when the military in Niger overthrew the president that was in power, the entire European Union, so many nations sanctioned Niger, right, in support of France. There were so many European nations standing in solidarity with France to isolate Niger. And the only reason they did that was to maintain access to the uranium, like I mentioned in the video yesterday. Do you know that many people died in hospitals because they couldn't get the medicine they needed? Many women died. Many elders died because they couldn't get the medicines they needed, because the whole entire world was trying to isolate Niger. Do you think those governments gave a damn about those innocent civilians? The only thing they cared about was maintaining access to some uranium, maintaining their economic interests, even if it came at the expense of our people. So black man, don't come into my comment section giving me these religious speeches about how, oh, morality, without morality, there is no power. Morality, nigga, I ain't hearing that shit, bro. I ain't hearing it. Because when we talk about our enemies, I'm not hearing it. I don't have compassion for those who've done harm against us. I don't have sympathy and understanding for those who have done harm against us and spilled the blood of our mothers and fathers. I don't have no compassion and concern for those people, bro. The only thing I'm concerned about is the advancement of our people, making sure our people are living in a prosperous and peaceful situation. And I've come to the realization that in order for our people to live a peaceful and prosperous existence, there's going to be other people that must suffer. I've come to the realization that in order for our economies to take off and to be prosperous, there's going to be other economies that must collapse in order to make room for our economies. That's the reality. That's the reality. We cannot coexist. We can't coexist. The video yesterday about France and Niger should have told you that. In order for the economy in Niger to take off, the French economy must collapse. In order for the living standards in Niger to rise, the living standards in France must decrease dramatically. But guess what? We don't give a fuck, because life is about power, not morality. And when I study the history of our forefathers, our ancestors understood this concept perfectly. They understood that. The only mistake they made was they didn't have the same racial consciousness that we have in the modern day. That was the only piece they were missing. If they had that element, man, the ancestors, they already knew the game, bro. They already knew the game. And going back to the guy who had mentioned, back in Africa, well, guess what? Back in Africa, the Europeans first arrived in the late 1400s. They did not begin to so-called take over until the late 1800s early 1900s, when they got access to the machine gun. But before that, guess what? They were getting smacked up on that continent of Africa. They were getting driven into the sea. They were paying taxes to African nations in order to have access, in order to do business. It was only when they got access to the machine gun is when they began to flex their muscle. But before that, there were countless stories of Europeans getting smoked, nigga. Getting smoked. The Portuguese getting stripped naked after getting smacked on the battlefield, bro. The British getting smacked up on the battlefield. The French getting smacked up on the battlefield. Of course, in the European narrative of history, they're not going to teach you their stories about their losses and their embarrassments. They're only going to teach you about their victories. So you think the European is so high and mighty and unstoppable, but that was not the case. That was not the case. They spent centuries on the African continent in a subservient position. Paying taxes, coming to meet the African kings, getting on their knees. And every time they decided to disrespect the African kings, nigga, they got smoked, they got killed, they got massacred, they got driven back into the sea. They had to pay taxes. That's what they had to do. They had to pay tribute. So listen, our ancestors understood life is about power, not morality, nigga. They understood, listen, I gotta protect the interests of my nation, even if I gotta kill you. Yeah, even if I gotta kill you, I gotta protect my people, even if I gotta kill you. That's the mentality, bro. That's the mentality. And I'm not talking about violence, because even in the video about Niger yesterday, that was an act of war. Like I said, there's different methods of warfare: physical warfare, diplomatic warfare, economic warfare, right? So that was an act of war upon the French economy. So like I said, in order for the economy of Niger to have new life breathed into it, the economy of France must die in a sense. The economy of France must die in certain areas in order for the economy of Niger to take off and prosper. That's the reality. But guess what? Life is about power, not morality. So we don't care about that. The only thing we should care about is advancing the interests and protecting the agenda of our people above all else. Because guess what? That's what the United States does. That's what they do. That's what all the Western powers do. That's what all our enemies do. They put their agenda at the top of the list, even if it comes at the expense of our people, even if they got to kill our leaders, even if they got to kill our civilians and make our people suffer in poverty and in living in dilapidated conditions in order for their people to live prosperous. They don't give a fuck. So why should we give a fuck, bro? Why should we care? Why should we take the moral high ground talking about morality? Listen, keep that morality shit. Throw that shit in the trash. The only people you should have a sense of morality with is your fellow citizens and your black people across the world. Your fellow black people across the world. That's the only people you should have a duty of morality to. Everybody else is fair game. We are competing. We are on the field of battle. We are competing to advance our interests to the highest degree. Why do you think the United States has military bases all over the world? Oh, because we want to keep the people safe. We want to protect human rights. Nigga, no, because they're competing with other nations. Didn't you see how last year they tried to destroy Russia? Do you think the United States took into account, oh damn, we should have a sense of morality towards the citizens of Russia? Nigga, no. They said, nigga, fuck the citizens of Russia. We are protecting our people. We advancing our interests. We giving guns to Ukraine and we trying to destroy you. So black man, you gotta have the same mentality, bro. It's a dog-eat-dog world, bro. You can't afford to take the moral high ground in anything. You can't afford to take the moral high ground because our enemies, our competitors, those we going up against, they don't care about taking the moral high ground. If you remember back during the Haitian Revolution, what did the French do to Toussaint Louverture? They imprisoned him. He died in a cell. He died in a frozen cell. What they do to his wife? They tortured her, broke every bone in her body. What they do to Christophe's firstborn son? They killed his 10-year-old firstborn son. How many African leaders has France assassinated in the last 60, 70 years? All in the name of advancing and protecting the interests of their citizens in France. They spilled all that blood just to advance the prosperity of their people. So black man, don't come and tell me to have morality and compassion for my enemies. I'm not trying to hear that shit, bro. Save that shit for your Bible study. For real. Anyways, man, it's your boy Neferkar. That's a lean back in the Billy. Yes, indeed. Cash app in the description. Support the album, man. Support the album. Peace.
No. Feel like I'm 75. Know that your team be full of them traders. You know that can never be mine. I'm grabbing a thought when I drive. I'm back in my zone and we on. She said that she ready to come be my wife. Yeah, hoping I don't do her wrong. I gave her my word and it's bond. I'm whipping the best like a lamb. I'm eating no chicken and lamb. Accustomed to call me the man. I never be up on the gram. I'm keeping that way undercover. She want me to tell her I love her. I told her I'm breaking the rules. I told her we making the news. Back in my city they loving me. Standing alone I'm 100 deep. Enemy plotting and still in reach. They try to make sure that we underneath. Trying to make sure that we never make it. Coming for power, come get acquainted. Coming for everything that I wanted. Feeling like Drake but I really wrote it. Feeling like Kendrick, I'm checking names. Gotta roll up while I go insane. Got so much stress I been gained weight. Stuffing these racks in this Louis case. One thing for certain, I'm about to check. Keep it 100 and nothing less. Stick with the family since day one. Had to stay down till my day come. Had to stay down but I'm never patient. Hop on the mic and I motivate them. Hop on the mic and I drop a classic. Haters can't see me, they copping glasses. Back in the studio making magic. Got a new tape and it's in production. Back on my business, I got a budget. Staying low key when I'm out in public. Feel like I'm 75. None of your team be full of them traders, you know that can never be mine. I'm grabbing a thought when I drive. I'm back in my zone and we on. She said that she ready to come be my wifey and hoping I don't do her wrong. I gave her my word in this bond. I'm whipping the best like a lamb. I mean no chicken and lamb. Accustomed to call me the man. I never be up on the gram. I'm keeping that way undercover. She want me to tell her I love her. I told her I'm breaking the rules. I told her we making the news. Making the news. Making the news. Breaking the rules. Yeah, yeah. Know that we making the news. Yeah.